Hey everybody, I'm joined today with Nick Revell, who is the co-founder and CEO of Digital Scorpion Interactive, and I was just going to be asking him a few questions and having a little chat. So, Nick, do you want to
Hi,
introduce
Connor.
yourself?
Yeah, hi guys. My name is Nick. I am the co-founder and chief executive officer at Digital Scorpion Interactive. I've been with this studio for about 3 years. I actually founded the studio. I was the sole founder, and then everybody sort of came up afterwards. I have done some amazing things in my short-lived career. I launched a game. I in the past lives that I've had, I've managed giant Amazon warehouses, and I've also managed smaller Chewy warehouses. And then in an entirely previous life, I was a software engineer. So it's definitely a journey, and I'm glad to be here today.
That's good. Well, some of the stuff you mentioned actually relates to my first question. So what was your experience like prior to Digital Scorpion? How much, I guess, experience did you have with the video game industry, or did you not have that much prior?
Sure.
Or what was your experience like just before, starting Digital Scorpion?
So I actually had a little bit of experience prior, not necessarily in the games industry, but starting a business. I was actually a founder on a smaller scale project. It was called Crave Hunt. And the idea behind the app was basically to bring people back into the dining room for restaurants. So with like services like Grubhub and Uber Eats and DoorDash, we sort of were the direct competition if we would have actually launched. The idea was if you're walking downtown and there's a whole bunch of stuff to do. Downtown Annapolis, for example, I'm from Maryland, has over 80 restaurants that you can just go and you can have a blast at. They're unique experiences in every single step of the way. Um, I we said, okay, well, let's create an app for that. So you're walking downtown, you look at your phone, you say, I don't know what to eat. There's so many different unique options, and your phone lights up. There's going to be an NFC tag located inside the restaurant that sort of pings your phone and gives you like the menu of the area. So like you can say, oh, maybe I want Irish food, or maybe I want this Americana, or maybe I want this Indonesian like curry. And the idea was to advertise to people directly to their phone while they were walking up and down West Street of Annapolis. Unfortunately, that fell through due to COVID. Everybody said, "Yep, we're going to double down on DoorDash and Grubhub." So that fell apart. After that, soon after that, I graduated with my bachelor's degree in computer science. Where I about 6 months later got picked up by the U.S. government. I was a government contractor for a few months. Then we got furloughed, and then that's that. After that, I ended up at a software as a service company startup. And I said, I've had startup experience in the past. I'm used to wearing that many different hats. And then I started learning hands on with the founder, like all of the infrastructure that it took to create a software as a service company. I left that in, I believe, February of 2022, where I was then picked up by Amazon. But at that point, I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own business because of this, because I now know what it takes to build that groundwork and foundation. And I also know what it takes to create a diligent team within Scrum and Agile practices. So I approached my best friend. I said, hey, what would it take for us to start a business? And he said, well, I'm an audio engineer. I said, okay, cool. And I'm a computer science guy. So where can we mix the two? That led into video game design. So myself and my best friend of over a decade started this company. He unfortunately stepped out about 6 months ago to pursue his own ventures. But we have been very diligent ever since.
Cool. That app idea is actually really good. When you're talking about that, there's been so many times where I've been, in places that are foreign or unknown to me, and I just don't know where to eat. And that would have been a nice app to have. Um, but my next question I was going to ask, and you've already spoken on it a little bit, was what moved you to, co-found Digital Scorpion Interactive. And you spoke a little bit about the experience in your work, your professional experience. How about some of the passions or personal interests that maybe led to you, coming up with Digital Scorpion?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually in during my little software as a service stunt, it was the height of COVID. So nobody could go outside. And we were all like, oh my gosh, they're gonna come get us. So I went a little manic. And as everybody does, people started their sourdough starters, people started making bread every day. I said, you know what? I'm going to start building video games. So I started like a moniker. It was going to be Ascension Unlimited Games, um, or Ascension Unlimited Studios, one of the two. And it was going to be we were going to build a sci-fi Metroidvania. Um, and I started realizing, oh man, this is a bigger project than I ever thought it could be. So after about 2 months of that and being like a solo developer, not necessarily having the team that I do today, I said, hold up. I don't know if this is going to be the best shot for me. I said we're going to keep this as a fun little hobby and get to it when I can. So that's sort of the dream died, and then I started the software as a service stuff, and then it reinvigorated, and I said, you know what, I could do this at a bigger scale, and I moved from that sort of point. I've always had a passion for games. I started my very first ever game was Super Mario 64. I was a 90s baby. And like just watching games like that, and I said, "Oh man, this is the coolest thing ever." And then my first ever game system was the GameCube. So my first ever game that I physically owned was Super Mario Sunshine, and then the second game that I ever owned was Luigi's Mansion. So I played the ever living heck out of those games, and I said, man, this is so cool, this is so fun, the storytelling is so just random, and like the gameplay just felt so natural. Um and I was in the fan camp. I like to obsess over certain things in the industry, and I was always like, okay, when are they going to make a Super Mario Sunshine 2? Or when are they going to make a Luigi's Mansion 2? That actually happened. I'm very happy for that. um However, I've not played them. But yeah, that's my passion. It's been ever since I was a kid. I thought when I was really young, and this is actually really funny, Connor. um when I heard the words PlayStation for the first time, I envisioned a little railroad train station, and that like people were playing on the railroad. I don't know why that was how it went, but that's how it went. And then I learned as I got older. It was like one of my first like core memories. I was like 4 years old.
That's funny. Growing up, my first console was a PlayStation 2, and my first game was War of the Monsters. Have you ever played War of the Monsters? Heard of it?
I've never played War of the Monsters. Yeah, I think I've heard of it, but I've never played it.
It's like it's kind of like Godzilla Kill All Monsters. Or is that no? Is that what it's called? The GameCube game, Godzilla. It's like the Godzilla.
Yes.
Yeah. And growing up, I had the PlayStation 2, and I kind of went back and forth between PlayStation and Xbox. And I had a Wii at my I had a Wii at a friend's house that I'd use sometimes. We were pretty close, but other than that, I really never touched any of Nintendo's stuff. And a few years back, when I started dating my girlfriend, we got into during COVID collecting old games and stuff. And I was like, well, I've never had a GameCube. And she's like, well, I've never had a PlayStation 2. So we both kind of uh, you know, showed each other what we played as kids growing up. So, she showed me Super Mario Sunshine and like Luigi's Mansion, and I was showing her Ratchet and Clank and War of the Monsters and Star Wars Battlefront, and it was really cool, that experience. But it's cool seeing what people played growing up, because everybody's, I guess, starting games are so different, and I feel like that kind of leads to what we enjoy later on. But that's really interesting. My next question for you is so you started Digital Scorpion, was it in 2020 or 2021? I can't
Uh,
remember.
I do believe that it was 21. Yeah, 2021.
So your guys' first project was Tales of Valoris, which is on the App Store now for Android and Apple. But that came out about 3 months ago. What was the development cycle like? What was the process of developing that like?
So this is actually a really interesting topic. I starting DSI, when I started this, we actually had a bigger game. It was Hit and Bit. We've been working on Hit and Bit in not necessarily co-development, but in sort of like on and off for the past 3 years. The first 2 years, we were building out the proof of concept for Hit and Bit, and then we had an MVP for it, a minimum viable product, where we like showed off the platforming and all of the movement. And we actually went to Full Sail University's Hall of Fame event. It was a career expo, and we were the only. It was funny because you saw on the brochure docket Digital Scorpion Interactive, and then the company that was direct, it was Disney. So we were like on top of Disney in terms of the job bracket because of the alphabeticalness of it. And it was just, that was hilarious to me. But we were the only game studio at Hall of Fame that actually put out, we brought a laptop, we brought a monitor, and we brought like a keyboard and a mouse, and we said, okay, we're gonna let the people play the game, and we're also gonna be hiring for a bunch of roles to fill in and see how like we can shape the game into the future based on that little playable demo. So we were still gung ho about that minimum viable product for Hit and Bit all the way up to about last year around this time. And then about 3 months had passed, my co-founder had split, and we said, okay, well, what now? So I actually went to our team. At the time, the team was about 30 people. I went to the team and said, okay, this is a big game. This is something that we need bigger feet to fill this bigger shoe. So how about we go about and create a smaller scale game within the same universe that we've been creating Hit and Bit in, and we make it like a Plants vs. Zombies game, and we say, okay, we'll make it in 6 months. And the team went absolutely bonkers. They said, let's do it. Let's get it done. Where can we start? What can we start doing? At the time, Nick McInnes, who is also one of my co-founders, he's an avid indie game developer. He's actually a solo game developer. He's created numerous titles outside of DSI. He brought to our attention this proof of concept that he made during a game jam called Breakfast Defenders, and it basically laid all of the foundation for what Tales of Wars is today. So we took that base game, we went and we changed all of the art, we added a story, we added new gameplay mechanics, and within 6 months we ended up with the product that you see today. And we weren't crunching. We did it out of fun. We did it out of passion. It was really interesting. About 3 months into the project, we ended up picking up a producer. I was the producer prior to that. I was managing all the expectations, all the wonderful like scheduling. And then this guy named Jerry Voorhees comes out of nowhere. It was like left flank. What chow? You're gonna get punched in the face otherwise, right? And we said, okay, who is this guy? And he shot me a message over LinkedIn, and he says, hey, I saw your studio. I'm really interested in starting my own studio, and I want to like learn from you how you did it. And then he said, let me shoot you my resume over. And I look at the resume. This man has over 40 years in the industry. His first ever game that he worked on, Connor, was Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger?
Yeah, he worked on Chrono Trigger, and then like 25 years of experience later, right? Halo, and then Halo Infinite, and then Forza, and then like as many other games as you can imagine. He was a technical art lead on The Sims. He was a technical art lead on the Harry Potter games back for the GameCube and the PlayStation 2. And he said, I'm really interested in like starting my own studio. Where do I start? And I said, hold up, wait a second. You want to start your own studio or do you want to join us? And then he said, I don't know. And then we ended up talking for about a month and a half. We like set up weekly calls. And then I said, you know what? Why not just come into the studio? I want to show you what we're all about. So we have weekly all hands. And I showed him, I said, hey, so we currently have this bigger project on hold. We have this smaller project that we're currently working on. And he said, you know what? That's really great. And I sold him. He joined us as our not our executive producer at the time. He was our like senior. And then after Tales of Valoris came out, we brought him and we bumped him up to a co-founder. We said, you know what? You deserve it, man. Because he brought in all of this amazing like feedback and all of this amazing like help. He's been with me, like he's up my butt more than I'm up any butt, and that's a hard state to say. But yeah, Jerry Voorhees, he has been one of the biggest influences for Digital Scorpion Interactive, and he deserves all of the love and praise because without him, I don't know where we would be at this point.
That's crazy. 40 years of experience. That's a big. That's great for you guys. But you mentioned something that was interesting that I wanted to bring up. Tales of Loris is a lot like Plants vs Zombies, and I recognize that pretty fast while playing it, which I like because I don't think that there's, at least I haven't played a lot of games that kind of have that, you know, that gameplay style and similar mechanics. You said that there was another, I don't remember what his name was, but you said that there was another individual in your studio that had a game that he'd been working on that, you know, the foundation was laid. Did he already have it? Did you guys decide you wanted to do a Plants vs. Zombie style game before you knew that he had that? Or did he say, hey, I have this, it's like Plants vs. Zombies, and then you moved from there?
From how I remember it, I do believe that it was the second option there. So Nick brought this up. He said, hey, I have a slew of games and can work with any of them. None of them have technically been released. They were shown up as like little itch.io demos. And like they never really gained a traction or a following. So I think we took that idea because we had this big blue sky meeting where we were like, okay, we have let's go ahead and listen into the community. Let's listen to our team. Let's see what they want to build. What do they want to make? And Nick McInnes's idea got the most votes for the first game that we were going to be putting out. So we ended up going with that idea and saying, hey, well, we have the foundation. Let's just get started.
So you talked about Hit and Bit quite a bit, and you said that it was kind of in development before Tales of Valoris, and that you worked, I don't know, down from that to make something smaller in universe. My question is, you know, Hit and Bit, can you comment or share anything about kind of what the gameplay is going to be like, or any of the mechanics, or can you just share anything about the title?
Yeah, so this is kind of a brainchild of myself and my co-founder from 3 years ago, but we've gone and we've evolved it. It's really, really fascinating. So have you ever played Hollow Knight?
Yeah, I played Hollow Knight.
Okay, so Hollow Knight has a single player, it's a single player adventure game that is a Metroidvania where you are gaining power ups to go and move deeper into the underworld that is Hollow Knight's universe. You have one player character, and I believe the female antagonist slash protagonist is like sort of a side character, is going on their own adventure, and then Silksong comes out, and it's going to be all about her and all of her amazing abilities and stuff because you fight her in the first one. We're doing something a little different. So Hit and Bit is going to be it's a Metroidvania. It takes inspiration from Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So you know how like you're going in between different dimensions. It has that really cool tessellation feature where you can just jump through a portal and then boom, you're in this new world. I played the heck out of that game. I love that game. I took that inspiration. I said that's a really cool mechanic. And then I saw Hollow Knight, and I saw all of the success that Hollow Knight's ever had, and there's only 4 people working on it. We said let's quadruple that, or not even. Let's tenfold that. So now we have a team of 40. We're working on this Metroidvania that not only has one playable character but 2 playable characters. It's a brother-sister duo. Hitandra is a barbarian hero, like female warrior, who lives in Ceruleus, which is the main city of the realm of Illumnia. It's like the capital city of the continent Valoris. And then there's another city all the way down south at the southern spoke of the continent. It's called Merwell. And in the dimension of Illumnia, Merwell is the sunken city. It's in a desert. It's sinking because it's too top heavy for it to really do anything on top of sand. So it's just sinking. It's in disrepair, and it's all kinds of messed up. But Hitandra and Thybit is going to be her brother. Thybit is a mage and has studied arcane magics and has this mage-like effect. He has a staff. They are also demigods, because it's almost a Greek mythos sort of storytelling here as well. So it's monarchy meets Greek mythos meets arcane and barbaric adventures. And you're going to be alternating between Hitandra and Thybit to save the realm. So I've sort of talked about Illumnia, but then there's also Tenebrae. Tenebrae is the mirror inverse of that universe, only Ceruleus is corrupted and Merwell is the gleaming city. So that is where Thybit will be playing. That is where you will play as Thybit, and you will be stopping this evil doer who's trying to mesh the two and create the ultimate realm that he can rule over. So you're working together. Hitandra's trying to save her brother. Little does she know he's trying to stop a greater force. And you're going to be alternating between the 2-player characters as you progress through the story. The way that Ratchet and Clank, the paradigm between the two, right? Clank is more of that puzzle solving situation, and then Ratchet is more of that action adventure sort of situation. We're really trying to play that paradigm with Hit and Bit. It's going to be cool. I'll have to shoot you some of our concept that we've done.
Awesome. Well, hopefully I can play it. Is it gonna be PC and mobile, or is it just one or the other, or what are you planning?
Just I can't really speak on that. Not necessarily
No? Okay.
for the mobile stuff, but definitely PC.
Okay. Hopefully it's not too taxing. I only got a laptop, so hopefully I can pick it up.
One of our biggest. Do you know what Octopath Traveler is?
Oh yeah, I know Octopath Traveler.
We are taking the artistic stylings of Octopath Traveler. We're putting it into.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
gonna be
interesting.
cool.
Well, I'm excited. What are some of your goals and aspirations for DSI, moving forward in the
So
long run?
we recently did a mission shift over the last 2 years. It's always been our mission. However, we never put it into the proper words. So DSI serves as an incubation studio. And what that means is we take junior talent directly out of school. We do 6-month internships with talent. We do apprenticeships, and sort of we build the foundation for those junior developers, designers, artists, audio designers to go into the AAA space and be a force to be reckoned with in AAA. We have always viewed ourselves as an incubation studio, simply because we are unfunded. Fun fact. Everything that we have done has been completely bootstrapped, and we partner with colleges around the country to actually provide 6-month internships so that they can build games like Valoris. So being a completely unpaid studio, being this incubation, we want to continue the incubation. However, our top priority right now in the next year to 2 years is to get the studio completely funded so that I don't have to work for Mickey Mouse anymore, and so that everybody else can like work on this full time. Um, to those of you who don't know, I also work at the Walt Disney Company. I'm the character attendant. That's my little side note there. The the biggest aspiration is to get the studio funded. The second biggest aspiration is to maintain that incubation. The third biggest aspiration is to continue having fun with it. Let's not take the fun out of building video games. We don't envision having Nerf fights in an office because we want to be completely distributed all the way across the country. As much fun as that sounds, we would love to do like business retreats once a year, where we can sort of do that sort of thing. Um, and 5 years down the line, I want to be fully transitioned. Right now, we're working with a tech stack of Unity, Fmod, and like Blender and Maya and Photoshop. But I want to transition more into professional tools. So like Unreal, I want to use Wise, I want to use various other supporting aspects that we don't necessarily have at our current availability due to our lack of funding. Not to say that our product has been hampered, like disheartened or hampered by any of these toolset blockers that we have, but it would be nice to move into a more modern space. And then about 5 years, I have a dream project. It's in my head. It's been bouncing around. And this is kind of the first ever public announcement about it. You can write first look on the on the YouTube channel. I have this idea bouncing around my head. It's called Lobotomy. Its current working title. Think Resident Evil meets like survival horror, like Amnesia: The Dark Descent,
Okay.
with psychological horror aspects and almost historical fiction.
Okay.
And I want to do that in Unreal 5 or Unreal 6 if it's out in 6 years. Um, and I want to basically build a better Layers of Fear, and that's
Okay.
hard. The way that like I've seen things that they're currently redoing in the remaster, and it looks phenomenal. I highly recommend it if you guys ever have the time or the bandwidth to play a game, and you want to get spooked your socks off. That's the game to play. Um, but yeah, that's my ultimate goal in 5 years' time is to create an amazing horror-driven narrative that is survival horror that beats the likes of Layers of Fear. But in the short span, we have about 6 more small games that we want to build between those 5 years. And they sound really fun. So I look forward to sharing more news about that in the future.
Cool. I really, in the past, wasn't too into survival horror, but a couple years ago, my friend came to me and he said, Connor, a friend of mine named Grayson, he said, Connor, man, you got to play this game. I said, okay, well, what is it? He said, it's called Silent Hill 2. And have you ever played Silent Hill 2?
Yes.
Yeah. And I played it and I've been chasing that high ever since. The only game that I really played that I really enjoyed as much as Silent Hill 2 is probably Resident Evil 4. Uh, but I still got some other survival horrors I gotta check out, but I don't have a huge amount of time. I'll definitely put Layers of Fear on that list. But
Highly recommend.
so I wanted to end it off with a couple of I guess fun things. That makes sense, just like a little couple activities. But the last question I had for you, and this is something that I think I'd like to ask everybody, but that, as I continue to do these, it's a very simple question. What is your favorite game?
Um, you know, my favorite game, it's so hard. It's such a simple question, but if you think about it, I've thought about this for such a long time. It's always something new. I am gonna judge it by the most hours that I ever have in a game.
Okay.
And that is gotta be, and this is not even accurate, to be fair. I am a absolute simp for like resource management games and simulation games. So I think I have a favorite genre. It's definitely the simulation resource management, resource allocation and management games. The one that I have the most hours in, which is about 400 to 500 hours, is Mountain Blade Warband.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Have you
And
go
I
ahead?
played the sandbox single player, and I just have so much fun with it. And then I've also played Bannerlord, but it's not as fun as Warband, in my opinion.
That's interesting. I was expecting you to say something a lot different. Uh, so to end it off, I wanted to do a couple blind rankings. Have you ever done a blind ranking?
I've never done a blind ranking, but I'm so excited to do this. Let's do it.
So you know
No, I
the whole
no.
what?
Shoot me the concept.
So basically, I'm gonna give you a prompt, and you have five characters. I'm gonna name one after the other, but you're not gonna know who the next one is. So each time I give you a character, you're gonna have to rate them on the scale of 1 through 5, based on the concept, without knowing who the next character is. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
Okay. So this ranking is how confident that you could beat this character in a fight.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So again, we have five characters. So I'll list a character and you'll give them number 1 through 5. So the first character I have is a Yoshi.
Okay, so is one being the easiest or is one being the hardest?
One was the easiest. You think that you could take them down?
Yoshi? Ah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to the Super Smash Brothers movesets. I'm gonna give Yoshi a 4. No,
Yoshi's a
no, no. I'm
4.
sorry. I'm sorry. No, Yoshi's a 2. I'm sorry.
Yoshi's a 2. Okay.
Yeah, Yoshi's a 2.
All right. So the next character that we have is Joel Miller.
Ah, he's very resourceful. Uh, um, I'm gonna go with let's go with a 4 for that one.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we have Ratchet and Clank, the duo.
Oh, that's gonna
Yeah.
be that's gonna be he has many a move. Is he fully powered up?
Um, let's say that he's been through a couple worlds, like on Up Your Arsenal. Like he's been through like three levels.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a 5.
5. Okay. So next up after Ratchet and Clank, uh, you've got Doom Guy, and you can give him a 1 or a 3.
I can give him a 1 or I'm gonna have to give him a 3.
3. Okay. Um, your number one isn't too bad. So you want to know who your number one is?
I would love to hear it, Connor.
Just a single Pikmin.
Okay, let's
A
go.
singular Pikmin. So you got a Pikmin at 1, Yoshi at 2, Doom Guy at 3, Joel at 4, and Ratchet and Clank at 5.
Yeah, yeah, that feels good.
I think that it'd be perfect if you had Doom Guy and Ratchet and Clank swapped.
Ah,
I,
I
I,
mean, you never know. I if I can like stay away from him to some degree
yeah.
because his favorite weapon is a shotgun. So like, I think if I can stay away from him and I can like use some aerial advantage, I think I could probably get him.
On Doom Guy?
Oh yeah,
Okay. So
yeah. I
I've
don't
got
want his hands.
another one.
Okay.
So this one's a blind ranking based on how good of a roommate you think they would be. So number one's the best roommate. Number 5 is like, you can't stand this guy. You want to cancel the lease. You need to get out of there.
Okay.
Okay. So number 1, we've got Bowser.
I mean, I feel like his world domination would we would have a very shared goal. because not necessarily the world domination, but he wants to rule a kingdom. I want to change the industry. I'd give him a two.
Two. Okay. All right.
I know he wants to steal Princess Peach, but like, you know what? Maybe I can change him after a few drinks. You never know.
Okay. Um, Nathan Drake,
Oh, number one.
number one.
Number one.
Okay.
I want to hear his stories.
All right. Um, Minecraft Steve.
Five.
A five,
Oh,
really?
five. Yeah, you never know what he's up to. He's a little silly, goofy guy. He could put TNT in your house, and you don't want to do that.
My thought process when I was putting this together was that, oh, this guy would fix everything up for me. Uh, all right. So now you got two spots left, number three and four.
Mhm.
So Trevor from GTA 5.
Four.
Four.
Unless I had his house afterwards, then that would be a tough one, but it's okay.
All right. So your number three, you ready to hear it?
I'm so ready.
All right. Your number three is Peter Parker from the Insomniac Spider-Man games.
I'm okay with that because he would
You're okay
disappear
with
into
that?
the middle of the night, and I would be really mad because I'd say, "Well, why didn't you bring back milk?"
Um, that's it that I have for the blind rankings. I should have made a third one because that was a lot more fun than I thought it was gonna be.
That
But
was a lot of fun.
yeah, that's about it for now for me. You have anything that you want to add before we
Um, yeah, actually, I have one last comment. So, Connor, thank you so much for bringing me on. It's been seriously a pleasure speaking to you, and I hope that everybody sort of takes notes on this because, as you can see, no harm, no foul. We're taking some time out. It's the weekend. We did this on a Saturday. And it's been a lot of fun. So I hope that everybody else decides to come in and do these interviews as well. Um, and as for DSI, I am incredibly proud of where we are as a studio. And those of you who are listening in from the studio, because I'll be sending out links to this interview. So you'll be getting some views, Connor.
okay.
I am very excited for the future, and it's looking really good, everybody. So let's keep moving in a positive direction. It takes a village to do what we do, and I can't be more proud of the team that we have here.
Awesome. Great words. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nick.